Okay. That's enough. You guys have no idea how many cuts I've done on this. I'm freaking done doing it. I'm just going to talk here. So, hey, what's up, retro gamers? It's Obi-Wan here, and hopefully you guys are all pretty well aware of the handheld scene, but just in case you're not, there's been some recent upgrades to the power and joysticks in these devices that have made them, that have really opened the door to so many more gaming possibilities. So in this video, what I want to do is use one of my favorite retro games to play as a metric for determining which one of these devices is going to have the best joysticks and ergonomics for joystick heavy gaming. As far as who I am, I'm 37 years old. I currently work as an IT analyst, and I've been configuring and playing on these devices for about 4 years now. And the recent upgrades to the joysticks and performance of these have really opened the door for emulating so many more games. So in this video, I want to try to show you guys something a little bit new and different. So retro gamers, I want to talk about joysticks. This is where I got the nerve to call this a retro game Recon. These new joysticks now make it possible to play dual joystick precision games. But what I want to know is which device will be best for a joystick heavy game. As far as the recent evolution of the joysticks, I'd say we started off with the Odin 2, which came out at the end of 2023. And this handheld really opened my eyes as to what was now becoming possible on these handhelds. Retroid followed closely after with their amazing Hall sensor joysticks on the RP5, and Anbernic came in about third with their ridiculously tall joysticks on the 406 series. But those were very precise, and I'm a huge fan. I want to say that. And of course, if you're like me at all, you're still waiting on your Odin Portal pre-order. I'm drooling for this thing, guys. Now, it's important to mention the improvements in power that also came with these devices. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 started everything with almost limitless performance on the Odin 2. The Unisoc T820 sneaking into Anbernic's recent devices kind of brings them into competition level, and the Snapdragon 865 and the Retroid Pocket 5 with both decent power and a terrific price point brought kind of all these companies like up to par, in my opinion. They were all producing devices worth buying. All these factors combined with software improvements from the brilliant developers. So all these factors converge into this momentous occasion where we are able to play a game about shooting shapes. All right, guys. So here's a brief rundown of the game so you can understand the gameplay you're about to witness. Until now, the accuracy of the joysticks has been the primary limiting factor on my enjoyment of joystick heavy games on these handhelds. Now, we're lucky enough to complain about the overall comfort and playability of these handhelds. This is why I chose the most difficult precision joystick shooter that I know of to formulate my opinion in this analysis. And man, is this game hard. Honestly, I'm not sure when I'm going to play this game again after playing it non-stop for this testing. I hear an abundance of the stress hormone cortisol can be one of the leading factors in early death. So this game is extremely simple. Your little shapes appear within this rectangular arena, and you shoot them for points. You have 3 weapons available. The starting weapon, which sucks, but you graduate from as soon as you hit 10,000 points, so don't worry about it too long. You spend the remainder of the round alternating between machine gun or shotgun weapon behavior. Any hit, no matter how small, will kill you. You start with 3 lives and 3 bombs. You gain a life every 75,000 points, and you gain a bomb after every 100,000 points. The more enemies you kill, the higher your score multiplier becomes. So this gives you a growth curve where the longer you stay alive, the faster you gain points. Every time you die, your multiplier is reset back to 1. From what I can tell, enemies appear in greater difficulty and frequency both as your score and your multiplier increases. This continues until you eventually die, which you will. Now, this game has a variety of enemies, each with their own distinct color and sound. Most are easy to kill and die in a single hit, but you get other enemies further into the game that are more difficult to kill. These include the horrible green ones that definitely cheat to avoid your shots, the terrible little red guys who deflect your shots unless you hit them from behind, black holes which suck up enemies then explode into fast player-seeking circles, and these snake things that come straight from hell and can only be killed with a headshot. The controls on this game are smooth, responsive, and very satisfying. This game is hard, but it's rewarding to see huge hordes of enemies melt under your surprisingly powerful little gun. The soundtrack is great, most of the sound design is excellent, and this game looks beautiful. From the OLED screens on the Retroid Pockets and the Steam Deck to the high pixel density and brightness of the RG406H, almost every device I tested this game on for this video was an absolute joy to play. Minus one exception, but not all joy is created equal. So we're gonna play the hell out of this game, and hopefully we can get some reasonable ranking on which joysticks are best for a joystick heavy game. As much as I want to just play this game for fun, we need some rules. I played at least 20 games on each of these 9 devices solely for the purposes of this video, with each game lasting anywhere from 2 minutes to 15 or so for the highest scores. We cannot use save states. Save states in a game like this is absolutely cheating and fundamentally breaks the ranking system that we're trying to create. So, okay, I do use the save state, but that's only to get past the stupidly long boot sequence of the Wii games. For the next rule, of course, you need to use the device itself. You got to use the built-in controls and no playing them docked on a better screen. I did allow the use of grips and different thumbsticks and different thumbstick caps, but that's honestly how I would actually play these devices all said and done, so I thought it was good for this test. And last, the game needs to be played at 100% speed, no exploiting slowdowns or lowering the game speed. Basically, you can't change the software to affect the gameplay. So the devices I'm going to test are mostly fairly new devices, except for the Odin Lite, which I wanted to test before the Odin 2. In my opinion, it had probably the best thumbsticks I had used, at least up to that time, and I think it's just an underrated and forgotten handheld. I hope you guys like my super fancy analytical software here, and so of course I added the Steam Deck and Windows PC to give me some control groups. These are the scores I would hope to have on an affordable handheld one day. Now that I had my experiment set up, I had to establish some sort of validity so that you guys would care about what I have to say in this game. So there is still an active leaderboard on a newer version of this game, Geometry Wars Dimensions, on the Xbox Series S. This game has new and different game modes as well as a campaign, but it also has the original retro evolved game built in. This version is actually a little bit harder than the original. Once you die in this version, you're actually reset to the starting weapon for a period of time, which can lead to an avalanche of death that is pretty frustrating. So I hit my little gaming den and sat down for a grind session. I got up near 6,000 on a few different leaderboards, but who wants to listen to somebody rant about something when they're only the 6,000th best at it? After hours, guys, and I mean hours, I finally got a really good score, so there. I definitely listened to the 2,147th best talk to me for a little bit about something. So I did want to insert a quick disclaimer here. I'm about to be pretty critical on these devices when it comes to playing this hard as hell game. But remember, I love each of these devices and bought them with my own money for a reason. Some of them just have better joysticks for precision gaming. I started off with the Odin Lite. I'd say the Odin Lite is a tribute to Ain leading the way as far as the big names, and I was surprised at how usable the joysticks felt at the time. I was also surprised at how terrible it performed in this test. This game revealed that the cardinal snapping is pretty bad and is essentially like playing on two 8-way joysticks. Either way, it's a great device, it's just not so great for this specific game. Next up, we have the RG406H. This is Ambernick's new baby. Anbernic functions a little bit like the flu virus. It pumps out quick, short-lived handhelds and mutates their design in rapid, small changes. All this has resulted in the 406H, and I have to say, this handheld feels terrific to play this game on. Prior to testing, I was fairly convinced that this machine would come in second place in handhelds, only beaten by the Steam Deck. I was wrong. And though it felt good to hold the handheld and manipulate the joysticks, something was off. The controls felt mushy. There seemed to be a noticeable delay on the screen when compared to the competition, and my scores reflected this feeling. Still, though you may not set any high scores with this device, I have to admit it was really fun to play Geometry Wars on the RG406H. The Odin 2, the godfather of modern Android emulation. Now, I did swap out the joysticks for taller and larger caps and put this fairly decent grip on it. I found the grip didn't affect my score at all, but it did make the experience way more enjoyable. Now, I only mention this negative coming up because the next two devices, but when playing a game with such a high contrast between light and dark, it really shows the limitations of this otherwise amazing 1080p 6-inch screen on the Odin 2. Now, the screen on the Retroid Pocket 5 was so good it made this game look like it popped off the screen, for real. OLED pixels are each an individual LED light source, so they can turn on and off quickly and also turn off entirely to display a true black. Now, I let Google AI tell me a little about the difference between LED and OLED, and I wasn't satisfied. So I dug a little deeper and found out, according to Samsung, that LED displays work something like this, whatever this simplified garbage visual is supposed to mean. So instead, I'm just going to show you this image of very similar shot patterns zoomed in on the Odin 2 and the RP5. For me, I can see two distinct shots on the Retroid Pocket 5, but the Odin 2, there are at least 3 distinct images on this single frame. It might not show well in the video, but the visuals alone on the Retroid Pocket 5 have compelled me to play Geometry Wars on it. The Retroid Pocket Mini has a similar story, except the ergonomics here are significantly better. Yes, I did perform this testing with some big booty cheek grips on this little guy, but honestly, he doesn't really need it. The joysticks are inset, the back is pretty chunky, and the precision is definitely there. However, in this test, you need some real spatial awareness. The small screen on the Retroid Pocket Mini was definitely the limiting factor here, and when the screen filled up with enemies and bright lights, I felt like I couldn't really see what was going on. Still, I gotta admit, it is a marvelous experience playing this game on such a small device. Now, the RG406V, this is the weird fat Game Boy style Anbernic puts out, and I am a big fan. I also put big booty cheeks on this guy and it was fun to play. However, the off feeling I felt while playing the 406H was even more prevalent during this test. Here, it felt like some sort of uncanny valley feeling. Like I was using joysticks that were trying so hard to be joysticks that they ended up just being play sticks. So for this device, I'd say this is undeniably playable, but not what I would choose from this lineup to play this type of game. Now for the RG Cube, and after using all these other devices, it was actually hard to force myself to play 20 different games on this device. By this time, I absolutely hated shapes. They tormented me on the devices with good joysticks, and they absolutely crapped on my grandma's grave when I busted out the RG Cube. The screen looked good, and the game ran pretty well, but I assure you, I will never willingly play this game on this device again after this video. The best of the best had to show its face. The controls on the Steam Deck OLED I have here with the protective case on and some little sticky grips I attached to the outside of that, picking this up makes me wonder why I even bother playing this game on any other devices. But it is big, and I've had my problems with both the Steam Deck OLED and the LCD version. There's a reason I don't primarily game on this device, but that's another conversation. Welcome to the 1 million club. Steam Deck OLED. Sit up for this part, I'm proud. So this was the coolest part of making this video. Using Dolphin on PC with my setup after playing on these handhelds, it was kind of like I've been training in high altitude. I used a few different controllers during my 20 runs, but the best for me by far was the Xbox Series S controller that came with the console. Enemies just could not kill me. It almost felt like my ship was moving before I even put in the command. I set my personal best ever on this game while recording here, and I dare any of you guys to beat 1,866,500. Anyway, this score was mostly just used as a ceiling, something to show the possibilities of how controls can be when using this emulator. Alright guys, so I'm back at you with this amazing spreadsheet again. As you can see, the results are pretty much what you'd expect. The RG Cube has kind of crappy sticks. Ambernick much improved them with the 406 series, but they're kind of tall, squishy, and weird. Then Retroid dropped these amazing screens on us with these precise joysticks. So, as far as the conclusion of this, I did learn something. I'd say, admittedly, my motivation for making this video was that I felt the joysticks on the Retroid Pocket 5 were kind of terrible, and I believe these results would display that to a greater effect. Instead, this video actually satisfies me in a different way. The controls on the Retroid Pocket 5 are pretty damn good, but after seeing what's possible on the Steam Deck and Xbox controllers, there's still a lot of room for them to get even better in the future. And I'm still hopeful we'll get an affordable handheld with which I can beat my PC score. Not that it'll be better than gaming on a PC. Don't attack it, guys. But just because I'll want to play it more due to its portability. I think with this data, I have to admit, I was being a little hard on the Retroid Pocket 5, and there are so many things the Retroid Pocket 5 does right that it makes up for its shortcomings, at least for now. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around till the end of the video. I was just about to publish this video when the Odin portal arrived, and I just gotta say, playing this game on this device is a dream. I'm going to start working on this video right now. Just make sure you subscribe and you won't miss a thing.